your little choices become habits that affect the bigger decisions you make in life. Elizabeth George. My friends, markets rebounding as far as stocks go, and we see bonds and gold down, Bitcoin heading up. Let's jump first into the S&P 500 and look particularly at the weekly candle at the end of this week and what it has become. Not quite a doji. It's smaller than the prior spinning top. It would be a spinning top. We can see that our volume is green. Remember, the volume is just predicated on the prior opening price, whether it's below or above. Below, it's going to be a red volume. Green is an upper price. So we see this week it is green. We reached a little bit higher high, but if we look at where the candles laid out, we can see that we have to go all the way back to the candle beginning on the week, beginning the 17th of April, to actually it's a little higher than this week's candle. So again, it looks like a spin down, even though we do have some a higher price, a little bit for the week. It did not hold on our Heikin-Ashi candlestick. Check out the 2-day chart. It is now completed. It is, again, formed. The candle itself is a red down candle. Look at all that volume there. Average volume on the weekly, but look at the last 2 days. Little candle, and again, red. We do see over the last day, though, we see some up volume, but still below the weekly. So when we get into the course of this next week, we're going to see how this week starts off. And if indeed finally the market rolls over, or if it's just been digesting these prior gains and really hammers up. With this amount of volume, though, negative volume, and where we see the reduction of the size of the candlesticks, and we see this average volume here, I mean, look at these bigger candles, with less volume than we have these last 2 weeks. If you compare the volume and the candles, leads you to believe that you may have a downshift coming. So when we go to the NASDAQ 100, the tech stocks, we can see that they have a decent candle for the week, and that's actually heading up and is above the prior candle. So we'll pay attention to that. Volume is about average. We do see the 2-day candle still above the weekly trend line, but it's, of course, turned into a doji. And we see things swinging up strongly for the day, 2.13%. It's our next to Bitcoin, our biggest gainer for the day. So we'll be watching the S&P for potential down moves, and we'll see how the NASDAQ continues its upward trajectory, if indeed that's where things go next week. What about 20-year bonds? Down for the day. We can see where 20-year bonds for 2 days swung up. We saw it starting on Tuesday morning and on Wednesday. Thursday and Friday, down 0.33%. We do have a negative, a red spinning top. Look at all that increased volume right there for the week heading down. We have 2 dojis in a row on the 2-day chart sitting just below that weekly trend line, and we can see the half day, of course, crossed back over the weekly trend line. With all that volume, would lead us to believe this next week will be negative potentially for 20-year bonds. What about gold? Gold down for that 1.56%. Got a little bit of red, and again, you have to be careful when you bring over these dashed lines and you line them up. It can make the bottom wick look longer than it is. That's why I'm switching back and forth. But if you look at this candle, and I'll move away, you can see there is a little wick that's pushed below the weekly trend line. We have a green spinning top. It's a small spinning top, but it's not a doji. Look at that super high volume. And again, when you compare, now that's, of course, when this whole move started. Well, it actually transitioned around here above average volume. An average volume on that red down candle, a red spinning top rather. And then, of course, the acceleration began. You would have wanted to get in here, of course, and then things really took off. We saw things bleed off a lot of energy with red volumes, higher than average, and then this latest, look at all that volume there, but not a lot of price change. In fact, just barely above the candle, barely above the prior, and then you can see all this high volume here. So it's a little hard to figure out what might be going on in gold. So we'll pay close attention as this next week moves along. We'll get a better feel for what this volume means to us, as gold was just over these 2 prior weeks, week beginning the 17th and then the 24th of April. If those were just sort of a respite for gold to digest these prior 5 weeks of up movements to then start moving up again, we don't have an answer on that. What about Bitcoin? Ended the week with a green spinning top after 2 prior dojis. We can see volume not super here. Not at all. It's well below the average. This latest 2-day candle is a small green up candle. And again, we'll watch that, keep an eye on it. Don't even know how to draw a trend line here. Just really don't. 2 dojis and then a little green spinning top. We could do something like this. Otherwise, we're just going to have to draw a completely, I guess we could, what does that help? It doesn't do anything for you. So again, not much we can do at all, but we'll watch, wait and see. 2 days of up movement in Bitcoin, but still well below where things popped up on Wednesday, the 26th of April. And again, waiting for a pattern to emerge so that we might be able to successfully trade Bitcoin. That ain't happening so far. So we'll just continue to wait, watch, and see. It's what you do with your favorite stocks when they're just not moving in discernible patterns. You just keep an eye on them, hoping it will occur in the future. That's where we are as we end this week. Thank you for putting up with me while I am out of the country traveling. I'll be heading back tomorrow morning. God willing, I'll get back on Saturday and be ready for a fresh week back in the States. God bless, my friends. All the best from the whole team at Charting Wealth World Headquarters.